Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Timothy Gannon. I am the proud principal of Port Richmond High School. It's my pleasure to welcome not only Mayor de Blasio, Chancellor Farina, and a host of other education and elected officials, but I welcome you as well as we celebrate Raider Spirit here on the first day of classes. It has been an incredible day in my 11.5 years as principal. This is one of our best days in terms of Raider Spirit to bring two people who come and tell our kids how much they care about them and how important their education is. So it's my pleasure to welcome everyone today. I thank the mayor, I thank the chancellor, as well as all of our guests today for making our kids feel special from the first day of the school year. And with that, I'd like to introduce Mayor de Blasio. Thank you so much.
Well done. I want to thank Principal Gannon. There is a lot of Raider spirit. This is my first report to the media today. A lot of Raider spirit in this building. I was very struck by it. A lot of very energetic young people who are very proud of their school. And Principal, I think you get a lot of credit for creating that atmosphere, for setting that tone. You have now been at it for 30 years or so, serving the children of Staten Island. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for the energy and focus you bring to this job here. And Port Richmond High is really doing some amazing work. And I want you to hear about this because we came here on purpose. We wanted to show an example of what a community school means to the children, means to the surrounding community, and how it fits our larger vision of equity and excellence. So let me just give you a quick take on this. The Port Richmond High, first of all, it's a beautiful building, and to all the folks who work here, they do a great job keeping this building beautiful and keeping that spirit high. But look, for example, at the state-of-the-art health center. I mean, I hope a lot of you were able to go in there. It is a beautiful, modern facility, and the focus is on physical health and mental health. And this is one of the things that really typifies community schools. The notion of reaching a child, every part of them, everything they need to excel. That's what I think of when I think of community schools. Engaging the whole family, engaging the community to support that kid. But also looking at the fact that we know some kids don't get to learn the way they might because of a physical health challenge or a mental health challenge that goes unaddressed. And in this health clinic, the good news is not only is it a modern facility with a lot of staff ready to serve the kids of this school, but if a young person comes in with a physical health problem, they're looking out, the professionals in that clinic are looking out to see if there might be other issues as well that need to be addressed. Because a lot of times we find that one problem somehow relates to another one that didn't get attention, especially with mental health, where there's still a stigma and unwillingness in so many cases to talk about it. That very professional staff is looking for an opportunity to see if something else has to be addressed, if that conversation has to be had. And they have the capacity right there. If a young person needs mental health support, it is right there in the same clinic. So that's extraordinary. 6 mentors and 4 social workers are available in this building. So one of the things Principal is saying is how important it is to have enough trained staff to be able to reach all the young people in need. This is the shape of things to come in education, in my opinion, having this kind of capacity in the building so we can reach young people immediately. And one of the things to remember about mental health issues in particular, if they're caught early in a young person's life, so much good can be done. If they are missed or if they go unaddressed because of stigma, so much pain can happen later. And right here at Port Richmond, they're doing it the right way. I also want to note, and it was really exciting to see a college right here in this high school, to see the presence of Wagner College in such an energetic, active way here at Port Richmond. And, you know, I talked to some of the young people who have been involved with the program that the college is sponsoring here. Now, first of all, the first thing you'll find out about these young people, besides that they're smart, they're energetic, they're socially involved, is they all want to go to Wagner College. So that worked. Congratulations. But second, they all were getting ready for very bright futures, and they were very, very focused on what they could achieve, and they assumed they could go to college. They assumed they could go to college because they've already had an experience with a college that validated their ability to move forward. So these are examples of what a community school can be and why it takes the definition of a school and expands it in ways that really inspire young people to do much more. As part of a 5-borough tour, we've focused today on our equity and excellence vision. And I want to just make one thing clear about this vision. You know, the technology world, they love the phrase disruptive, and they mean it in the good sense. In a school setting, disruption can be bad when it means people aren't following the rules. But in the technology world, they refer to disruption in the sense of creating new models, getting away from things that weren't working and going in a new and better direction, innovating. Equity and excellence aims to do that. This is very much of an anti-status quo initiative because the status quo wasn't working. I repeat, some of you were here earlier when we were, I should say, not here, some of you were with us earlier when we started the day, and we talked about the reality when this administration came into office. One of the indicators that I use that really puts a point on the problem, that point, about 30% of our kids were reading on grade level by 3rd grade. Now, the educators in the room will tell you that reading on grade level by 3rd grade is one of the nationally recognized benchmarks for whether a young person will succeed or not. If they are reading on grade level by 3rd grade, there's a very high chance of future success. If they're not, it's an uphill climb. The city of New York, the biggest city in the United States of America, when I took office, only about 30% of our kids were reading on grade level by 3rd grade. This chancellor and her team have had the courage to say that is fundamentally unacceptable, and the equity and excellence plan that we put forward literally established the only goal that we could feel comfortable with. It is an incredibly difficult and ambitious goal. It is a goal of 100%. Now, educators will tell you also that is extraordinarily ambitious. That is going to take everything we know how to do and then some, and a lot of resources. But morally, the only goal we can set for ourselves, and this is over the next 10 years, is to bring our school system up to a point where every child is reading on grade level by 3rd grade. Now, we believe, because we have changed the paradigm fundamentally with pre-K alone, that we have given ourselves a much greater chance of achieving that goal. And again, I'm proud to say that this morning, we got the figures for how many young people were walking through the doors of pre-K classrooms. We are now at 70,430. I want to tell you this is a number we did not expect today. We've said for a while we thought this is a year that we could come up to about 70,000. We did not expect to surpass it on the first day of school, and there's a good chance that more and more parents will sign up after the first day of school, as they did last year, well into October. Please remind all of your audiences that there's still plenty of pre-K seats, and just by calling 311 or going online at nyc.gov, you can sign up for a pre-K seat for your child. But the extraordinary response to pre-K is giving us a foundation that we can go at that 3rd grade goal. We're also making a huge investment in reading coaches and reading specialists to help our young people, particularly at the 2nd grade level, to set up success at the 3rd grade level. This is one of the passions of the chancellor, and this is something that's being engineered to, again, break the paradigm that existed before, figure out all the things we need to do to help our educators reach these young people. And that's all the professional development, too, which has been a crucial difference. So this is really a hallmark of Chancellor Farina's leadership, the supreme focus on constant and improving professional development. All of this, we believe, will add up to a very, very different school system. Now, taking Port Richmond as an example and taking the community schools as an example within that. If you say, okay, to fundamentally change the school system, you have to, one, start early, start at the beginning, give every child high quality, full day pre-K for free, make it something that was totally universal. That was one fundamental change. That focus on 3rd grade reading, in many ways, the most fundamental change. But you also have to find ways to strengthen each and every school. Because another thing that I consider fundamentally disruptive is we do not accept the notion of quote-unquote bad schools. Now, every single one of us who looked for a school for our child or grew up in the city, or in my case was a school board member in my local community in District 15, Brooklyn, everybody used to use the terminology bad school, good school, and they thought it was normal, and it was just part of life in the city. It was a well-known fact. There were some schools that were really good, no one doubted, they'd be happy to send their child there, et cetera, and then there were others that people given up on, that parents didn't want to send their kids to, that there was no sense could turn around. A lot of schools have been turning around. Some started to turn around in the previous administration, and I give them credit for that, and I thank them for that. A lot of other ones have turned around during this administration. There's a lot more that have to turn around further. But the fact is, it's been proven now that a school can fundamentally change. And a school can be brought up to a level that anyone would be proud sending their child there. What you see happening here at Port Richmond is a great example. The spirit is not only something that people talk about, it's something that's being achieved through real work that people are feeling proud because they see good things happening in the school. You look at that clinic, how could you not be proud of a large state-of-the-art facility with so many capable people working in it? It immediately communicates this is a school on the rise. And that's part of what's so powerful about the community school model, is that it says to everyone involved, the investments are coming in, the changes are coming in because the school is on the rise. When you see schools, for example, that bring parents in and have parents more involved than you've seen in probably any other kinds of schools, it says something happening, something's changing. When you see community members coming in to volunteer and tutor, when you see companies coming in to help, we love talking about the incredible work that's being done with eyeglasses by Warby Parker. And that there's young people all over New York City in community schools, in 130 community schools. Literally any child who needs eyeglasses is getting them for free in those schools. That's changing the lives of those children and their families. And I don't need to even tell you how many times already a young person who did not know they had a vision problem, or their parents didn't know they had a vision problem, it was caught in their school. Not because they went to the doctor, it was caught in their school. And if this kind of capacity was not available, that child might have gone on for months or years having a problem learning because they didn't even realize it was actually a physical problem, a vision problem. So all of these pieces come together in a community school. And that focus, we're talking here at the high school level, but we'll see it at the middle school level as well, that focus on young people getting to college. We are communicating something different. We know, everyone in this room knows that for a long time, there were lots of kids in this city who questioned whether they'd even get out of high school, let alone whether they had a shot at college. And they did not have communicated to them that college can and should be a part of their life if that's what they choose. One of the things that's different about equity and excellence is we put college right in the front of this whole discussion. For example, every middle school child in New York City will go on a tour of a New York City college. It is going to be a mandatory part of all middle schools programming. It is free to the children and their family members so they can experience college, even at the middle school level, start to know that they too belong in college. The fact that advanced placement courses, this used to be one of the most indicative realities of a school system that did not have equity. Talk about a tale of two cities. High schools that for generations had advanced placement and others that never had a single one in their entire history. Advanced placement courses, college-level courses, immediately communicate the notion that the young people have a shot at getting to college, and the school is up to the level of teaching those advanced placement courses. If you have advanced placement courses, something's moving in the right direction. If you don't, it's almost an immediate indicator of a retreat or a belief that the young people in that school don't actually belong in college. We've made a very clear standard. There will be advanced placement courses in every high school in New York City, regardless of zip code. This is, again, how we communicate to everyone that the only standard we will accept in all of our schools is excellence. So all of these things are moving simultaneously, and they have to move simultaneously. And one of the things I came to realize long ago, first as a school board member and a new parent, and then with everything Chiara and Dante experienced in their public school educations, and everything I've done in public service, what became clear to me is the public discourse so often missed what we really had to do, because we had to do so many things at once. We had to recruit the best talent at all levels of education. We had to get great people to come into the field of education. We had to get great teachers. We had to constantly train them, not just once or in a cursory manner, but as Carmen has now made real. You have to constantly train them and improve them and show them a respect for their professionalism by lifting them up and improving them all the time. You had to create real opportunity for those very same talented people to rise up in the school system, become assistant principals, become principals, show that our homegrown talent could be the very best. That was a piece of the equation that was needed. You had to do early childhood education. You had to create a college-focused culture. You had to do third grade reading level improvement. You had to go at that problem if you're going to fix everything else. You had to do all the above. And we found that community schools play a crucial role. And we found that going right at the renewal schools and actually giving them the tools to become stronger, giving them the extra classroom instruction time, giving them the after school, giving them the additional professional development, all of those things actually added up to a serious attempt to change a broken status quo. And nothing less than that could possibly change the reality for 1.1 million students. That's what we've been trying to do. The Chancellor has done an extraordinary job marshaling all these initiatives simultaneously. Deputy Mayor Bury has provided extraordinary leadership, particularly in the areas of pre-K and community schools, two of the cutting-edge elements of this vision. But no one for a moment can rest on their laurels, because we understand just how big this mission is, just how tough this mission is. And I want to reflect, when we thought about third grade, as I mentioned before, it would have been so tempting to set a lower goal. But we knew it would be wrong for New York City. We knew we had to try for the maximum goal. And in everything we do, we're trying to give numbers, goals that the people in New York City can see. So for example, on graduation rate, we're at 70.5%. We're at the highest graduation rate we've ever been in New York City. That is not enough. We have dedicated ourselves to reaching 80% over the course of the next 10 years. Test scores have continued to improve. Most notably in the last year, our English score is improving across all 32 local districts, but they have to improve a lot more. And all the pieces I described, we believe, will allow us to continue to improve student performance, continue to have more and more schools be the kinds of schools every parent wants to send their child to. That is what equity and excellence is about. Very quickly in Spanish. Estamos transformando la educación y trayendo equidad y excelencia a todo el sistema escolar. Esta labor incluye a escuelas comunitarias como Port Richmond, aquí en Staten Island, que tienen ahora más recursos para atender las necesidades de sus estudiantes y ayudarlos a triunfar. Felicitemos hoy a todos nuestros estudiantes al comenzar a dar el próximo paso en su educación y sus vidas. With that, I want to turn to the architect of all of these great changes, our Chancellor, Carmen Farina.
Thank you. And thank you, Tim, for the wonderful work that you're doing here at Port Richmond. It takes a great principal, it takes a great superintendent, it takes a great community to create a great school, and teachers, of course. And I think it's really, really important to honor a principal who did not accept the status quo, who came in, I'm coming in and I want to change the image of Port Richmond, and not only with that, but fighting for things that he may not necessarily have gotten any other way. I like feisty principals. I like principals who say, this is what I need for my students, and that's exactly what you've done, and congratulations. I also want to say there's a particular model here that I want to see happening more across the city, where a university, or now universities, has stepped up to the plate. And Wagner could easily have said, well, you know, send me the students that belong here, but they said something very different. They said, we're going to go to the school, we're going to have an office in the school, we're going to make sure that we support the school in as many ways as possible. So when the students come to us, they're already prepared. And as a result, the 2 other universities out here on the island are also stepping up with different schools in the borough. So I think all that is really, really important. And in a community school, you also have, bar none, is the ability to treat the whole child and the whole family. And that's what this school is doing. They're not using excuses, oh, you're absent because, you suffer from X, Y, and Z. You're saying, come to here, we'll help you, so then you come to school. But I just want to do a quick recap of today. To me, equity and excellence means level the playing field. And the one thing that I saw in every single stop, and we did 5 stops, is that in every place we went, we spoke to at least one student with aspirations. And what equity and excellence is all about is saying no matter what zip code, what family you come from, whether you're newly arrived immigrant or you've been here all your life, you have an equal chance to be successful. So in our first stop, the first China that we picked up, she very clearly, she wasn't at all embarrassed, she wasn't shy, nothing. I said, well, what is your goal? She says, I want to be valedictorian. That is a goal. Even the word valedictorian is something that every child should have. And I think that's what part of equity and excellence is. It's about what are your goals. Second school we went to, we were talking about what colleges you want to go to, the college visits that you're making, and I thought for sure that they were going to say, SUNY, some said Fordham, and one student said very clearly, Stanford, but just like that, Stanford. So I said, well, New York City. He said, no, Stanford. And then when we started talking about what else we might do in terms of preparing his goals, and we said we would be paying for students to go visit campuses, he said, Stanford. I said, well, I'm not paying for an air flight to California, but you're going to have to do it maybe visually. But the idea is that all the kids, no matter what zip code they're in, are talking about their opportunities. Just stopped here in your dual language. First, high school in Staten Island to have a dual language program is right here at Port Richmond. Talking to the students and asking them what is their opportunities here, and one of the students said, because I can come in and speak my own language, I feel more comfortable coming into school. So we now have not only programs in place and teachers in place. Oh, in one of the schools we went to for the 2nd grade literacy, one of the students wanted to carry on the whole class. I think he thought he was the teacher because he's already at a high level. He was able to tell us what level he was, but he wants to be an N level in 2nd grade. We need every student in New York City to dream the impossible dream and to understand what steps he needs to get there so that all our students will have equal opportunities. So that's what today's all about. And now my job is just to execute it. Nothing small.
No big deal.
Okay, thank you.
To the credit of Carmen Farina, she takes on the mission every time, and that is part of why we have come so far. I want to thank, as I said, a real thank you to Deputy Mayor Bury. This is a day you can really be especially proud because more than 70,000 kids in pre-K. Again, this was a dream, and we did not think we would get here this quickly. But the people are speaking. As they say, they're voting with their feet, and the word of mouth and everything else about pre-K has been so strong. So really a day to be proud. And to thank some of our partners in this work who are here, Dr. Richard Guarashi of Wagner College, who is an exceedingly enthusiastic man and has done great work for Staten Island, great work here at Port Richmond. And I know you felt, as I do, that those young people, it was so exciting to hear their energy, their belief in themselves. And I think it was 5 out of 6 wanted to go to Wagner College. So that's a pretty good batting average. And Mark Cannizzaro, the Executive Vice President of CSA, thank you for your partnership. We appreciate it deeply. Sean Francois, President of Local 372 at DC 37, thank you for the key role that your members play in keeping our kids safe in all the operations of our schools, and we appreciate it deeply. I want you to hear from another partner, and he has one of the tougher jobs because whenever I talk about people who serve in Albany, New York, I like to immediately remind everyone that that is a tough environment to work in, to try and make sure there's fairness for New York City and particularly for our school children. And Mike Cusick has been a crucial ally in making sure that we got what we needed for New York City public school kids. So Mike, thank you for your great work, and I welcome you, Assemblyman Mike Cusick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Chancellor. I just want to say welcome. Welcome to Staten Island. You're no stranger here. This is a great atmosphere to be for the first day of school. I want to say that this is a jewel of Staten Island, Port Richmond High School, and it's something that I want to thank you for highlighting. Chancellor, you've said it many times today. I want to just thank my friend, the principal here, Tim Gannon, and the staff, the teachers that do a great job here at Port Richmond, because this is truly a jewel of Staten Island. It's, by definition, it's a community school, but it truly is a community school. This is a school that serves this entire community here in Port Richmond and communities outside of Port Richmond. And many of the constituents that I serve in the State Assembly go to school here and get a great education, but they feel part of Staten Island, and that's because of this man, Tim Gannon. And I want to thank Tim for all the hard work. And Mr. Mayor and Chancellor, I want to thank you for highlighting this school here today on the important day of the school year, the first day of school. And this is a great institution. This is a great place to learn, and just great teachers and a great staff. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor.
I think that Mike Cusick has a lot of Raider spirit. I want to give you that. Congratulations. Questions on education? Questions on education? Yes.
Mayor, you also visited a charter school
Yes.
today. Explain what you hope to gain from the charter schools. I mean, 10% of the city's kids are now enrolled officially today.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I think that number is approximately right. But yes, and we've said for a long time that the population in charter schools has been growing. The chancellor has spent a lot of time working with charter schools all over the city and working with some of the leaders of the charter school movement. Deputy Mayor Bury has a lot of history working with the charter schools and starting, in fact, having helped to start one when he was the head of the Children's Aid Society. So our message to the charter school community is, of course, we want to work with you. This is about all of our children. And what we want to set up is a situation where good ideas and good approaches are shared between charter schools and district schools. Now, one thing we will say, because we all believe in the power of our traditional public schools, is that's a two-way street. And there's a lot of great ideas in our traditional public schools, more and more. And the pros schools are a great example where, by agreement with the teachers union, you have a dynamic where schools can make a decision to cancel their DOE work rules and their union work rules and innovate and do new things. That's now in 120 schools, I think. A lot of innovations happening in all different kinds of schools. We want to share it. We want to learn from each other. We want to work together. We even have extended that idea out to parochial schools. Remember, parochial schools played a big role in our pre-K initiative and continue to, and in our after-school initiative for middle school kids. So all of these pieces suggest an atmosphere where we want everyone to feel that they're working towards the same goal. And I'll certainly continue to go to different charter schools that we feel are, really giving us good models we can work with. Yes.
Mayor, this morning there was a student found with a gun at a school in Brooklyn, not far from where you were this morning. Wanted to get your reaction to that incident, and then also as far as your plan to remove the scanners from the schools, is that still going forward as planned?
No, let's stop. I'll talk about the incident, but I want to make sure there's no misunderstanding. I think we've said it clearly, but it bears repeating. There is not a quote-unquote plan to remove scanners. There never has been. There is a plan to evaluate in schools where the school community itself thinks that either scanners should be subtracted or added or changed, that can be evaluated by both the educators and the public safety officials. Now, in the end, that decision can only be made ultimately by school safety, meaning the NYPD. But the point is, there are some schools where there's a different approach to the scanners that's needed. There are some schools that there's an argument do not need scanners anymore. There are some schools that might have not had them and decide that they do need them. We're going to go through a process in each case with all the stakeholders with a final decision depending on whatever the analysis of the NYPD is. So that's just to put that in perspective. On the incident today, look, it's really clear. Weapons in our schools are absolutely unacceptable, and we will find them, and we will take them away, and there will be very serious consequences for anybody who brings a weapon into a school. So that young person obviously got caught. That weapon was taken away. It happens very rarely in terms of guns. In the last year or 2 years, We're talking fewer than 10 guns a year have been impounded in our schools. So we've brought down the whole situation of disorder and violence in the schools fundamentally. That is a credit to educators, and it's really a credit especially to school safety. The overall number, and this, as we talked about earlier in the day, this goes across 2 administrations now. Over the last 5 years, violent crime in our schools has been reduced 35%, and that trend continues. School safety is doing better than ever. So I'm very unhappy that that young person did that today. He will certainly suffer the consequences, but as per usual, what I have found is school safety will get those weapons and get them away from anybody who has them. Yeah.
Just clarify, is 30% the reading rate for third graders when you took office or currently?
When I took office, it was 30, I don't know if it's exactly 30, we can get you, yes, low 30s. We have now a plan in place that we put into action in the last year to bring that number up. It's going to take a while for that to be fully felt, but our goal is a very rigorous one, that we have to move that number up rapidly over the next few years. In this school year, for the first time, we're going to have those reading specialists in the schools that need them most, and that initiative is going to ramp up, but we'll make sure to get you the exact numbers as they are now. Questions on education?
We are in a pretty diverse school. That's kind of a rarity. Looking at equity and excellence, can we expect anything in terms of a larger plan for school integration efforts?
Yeah, look, equity and excellence is focused on bringing up every school. And I think right there, it has some impact unto itself of adding to diversity, because it's going to encourage people to feel free to send their kids to a broader range of schools, people of all backgrounds. We've also said our affordable housing plan, we think, will have an impact on diversity in schools as well. I'll let the Chancellor speak to what the DOE has started to do, and I said publicly we're going to have a bigger plan we put forward that you will see in the near future that lays out a system-wide approach. But the Chancellor certainly can speak about some of the initial efforts that some schools have made that are succeeding, that we think give us the foundation for the bigger plan.
Certainly one of the most important things in terms of our diversity efforts, and I've come to Staten Island several times to talk to, obviously to many constituents here about this, is making sure the community's needs and voices are heard. So some of the things are, in several of our schools, at least 10, we have what we call set-aside seats. And these set-aside seats will be for students who balance whatever else is in the school. And these were done in conjunction with the superintendents, the principals, and the parent body. And our intention is to keep going out to the community, and certainly there are some districts, and I'll use just one as an example, District 13 in Brooklyn, that has done a real major emphasis in involving community members, CEC members. We just opened a school there this past week, the Dock Street School, where the enrollment process for that school is going to be part of our integration and diversity efforts. That was done after at least 22 meetings with every member of the community, with talking to anyone who wanted to talk, whether they had children in the school or not. And that's where I think is the process. This is not about a mandate. This is not about looking at a quota. This is about how we get communities involved in having these discussions. And I think that's the best way to ensure that when families send their children to a school, that is a happiness on all sides. I'll just give an example here. One of the things that was done at this school, because, you know, schools get reputations sometimes that are 10 years old or more. Oh, that's a school I went, you're going there? I mean, as a superintendent, I lived with this. So more open houses, more trips to schools by every member of the community. In this school, and I think it was a touch of genius, it was the superintendent and the principal who decided to put the enrollment center, welcome center, in this building. So parents actually have to walk into this building, see the building, and then make decisions. So when you walk into a building, you see something, you're much more likely to enroll your student here than if you haven't been in this building for 10 years and you still remember whatever happened. The other thing we're doing, and we're doing this around the city, and we certainly encourage you to invite us also, we're doing editorial board meetings and inviting, and Staten Island was the first place we did this, to do hidden gems. There are many schools in the city that have opportunities and that we really need to put in place the word out there. And Port Richmond was the first school that was chosen for the advanced, Staten Island Advanced. We've gone out to Queens, we're going out to other parts of the city. So my job is not only to be a cheerleader, but make sure when parents start looking at diversity, that all parents want to go to all schools. But this is an ongoing process. We will continue to meet with members of the community to have these discussions.
Just a quick addition. First on the point that schools change, and I think this is part of why we believe that we can break this status quo of quote-unquote good school and bad school profoundly. Because just as the chancellor's experience, I've seen such rapid changes in schools. I was today at PS 154 in the Bronx, a school that was very troubled just a few years ago, that's had a stunning rate of progress, that's had a whole different culture in the building that has permeated the teaching staff and the parents. And the principal there, I said to her, what is the limit to this? It was very inspiring to me. I said, where can this go? And she said, once the culture changes and parents start to believe in the school and teachers believe the school can get better and kids start to have that communicated to them, there is no outer limit. There's limitless potential for improving the school. I use an example from my own neighborhood in Brooklyn. When I was a school board member, the next school zone over from our house was PS 107. And back then, so this would have been 1999, 2000, 2001, back then, people who lived in the surrounding blocks would not send their kids to PS 107. They just literally considered it a bad school. They would not even consider it. It was down the street. They would not consider it. A lot started to change in that school, starting with a new principal and a great principal and more involvement from parents and a lot of other changes. I one day was walking down the street not far from the school. This was maybe 6 or 7 years later. And it was the first of many times that someone grabbed me by the arm and said, can you help me get into PS 107? The speed with which that school got good and then got great and then became incredibly desirable and then it became like a competition to get in was breathtaking. Certainly less than a decade, just a matter of years. So it's a reminder to us that we cannot be held down by the past. To Carmen's point, some of this stuff is just stereotype that hangs in the air. If we're going to work on better schools and work on diversity, some of it comes with breaking down those boundaries. You've seen some of the rather intense concerns at the community level when we talk about school rezoning. Some of that's based on a lack of information about what the school is doing today versus what might have been happening in the past. And it's our job to get that out. So we're going to do those things. I also want to say to the point Carmen made about how they do quote-unquote set-asides, that's based obviously within the law. It's not based on anything and everything. It's based on things like geography. It's based on things like certain economic indicators. For example, if kids happen to be homeless, specific categories of young people who we have found it's fair and smart to say we should make sure the school has some representation of these kids. That model appears to be working very well, and that's something we're going to continue to deepen. Yes?
With the exception of STI, tech, and science, you can eliminate testing without Albany at all for the other schools. Do you plan to do that at all for those?
Well, I wish that were true, and I think from my memory of the last conversations with the law department, it's not as simple as that. I don't believe in a single test for admissions to a school. I think what we need to go is to a multiple measures approach for admissions to our specialized high schools. There is an Albany component to that decision-making we have to deal with. That being said, we're going to make the changes we can make in terms of how we prepare young people and any other ways that we have to broaden the diversity of our specialized schools. I use the case of STI. Majority of this city, clear majority of the city is Black and Latino. The percentage of Black and Latino students at STI combined is about 7%. That's just not acceptable. So I'll keep working for the change we need in Albany to create a more representative reality in our specialized schools. Whatever we can do in our own power, we're absolutely going to do.
Are you worried about alienating the majority Asian population of STI?
I am certain that some people will be concerned, but this is a matter of fairness from my point of view. And it doesn't surprise me that there'll be some turbulence, but come on. We have to, these are very special institutions in this city. Our specialized schools turn out a disproportionately high number of the leaders of the city in a whole host of fields. and national leaders. I mean, Eric Holder went to Stuyve. David Axelrod went to Stuyve. I mean, it's Brooklyn Tech, Bronx Science. I mean, these are some of the very best high schools in America. They have to be representative of this city's population because we're a representative democracy. We want the leaders of the future in the city to come from all communities. And if it were not for a single test, this would be a very different discussion. But it's based on an admissions concept. By the way, no Ivy League college would ever accept the notion of choosing their students based on a single test. This is the irony of it. No institution, quote unquote, elite institution would ever make the decision in this country, at least based on that. So it's wrong on its face, but it's also wrong because it's created an unrepresentative dynamic. Please.
One of the other things that we're focusing on is both the DREAM program, the Discovery program. And I want to be very clear that this is a program that takes students who already are high achieving but may have missed or would miss by 2 points getting into a specialized school. So we are increasing our DREAM program this year that starts in 6th grade. It means that students have to be able and willing to go for extra classes 1 day a week and go on Saturdays. And this summer, we also had special programs where they can really do intensive work in their area of specialty. One of the programs we did is Boot Camp for the Arts. 150 students from all over the city who might not have money enough to have private tutors in music and dance and theater, and Lincoln Center actually prepped them for the auditions. The other thing is we have a new principal at Stuyvesant, Eric Contreras, who's phenomenal, who is the first in his family to go to college, and he is committed to starting a Discovery program at that campus the same way that Brooklyn Tech has. And that means taking students who we know could make the grade and work and giving them the extra support with tutoring and test prep and whatever else they need to be able to succeed. And the teachers from those schools will be teaching those courses also, so they get to know the kids and it'll be an easier access point.
I have to tell you, I left out a very important fact because I didn't know the very important fact that another great example of a Stuyve graduate who turned out good is Deputy Mayor Richard Bury. So I commend you. Proud alumnus. Yes?
Staten Island has a lot of overcrowded schools, and I know the city is adding about 800, I believe, was funded this year. Is there any idea when a new school might be opened on Staten Island? Like, would it be in your next term, this term, or your next term?
So let me do a couple of things. First of all, the current capital plan has $241 million for creation of new school seats in Staten Island. That would be 2,000 seats. So today, I don't know the details about the school today. Maybe your superintendent wants to update us on that. But certainly we're going to look at, because we're bringing in a lot more school seats into Staten Island, we're going to look at what makes sense in terms of locating those seats. As you know, the rezoning that's being discussed around Bay Street is one of those opportunities to look at community needs and see if there's a school siting opportunity in that. So that's certainly going to be a discussion. But the one thing I can tell you for sure is 2,000 more seats are on the way. And the superintendent, you want to come up for a second and join us and tell us about what you mentioned about earlier today. And please introduce yourself for everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Anthony Lodico, the superintendent for District 31. So we did have a new school that opened its doors today right here in the Port Richmond community, PS 68, the old Verizon building on Forest Avenue. Opened today. It has a pre-K center that remains a standalone pre-K center, and we brought in 3 kindergarten classes today, and it will grow to be a full pre-K through 5 school with about 420 students. We have a lot of overcrowding here in the Port Richmond area. Those of you that know the area, PS 20 is overcrowded, PS 21. So although this won't alleviate that overcrowding immediately, it will begin to help with overcrowding in this area. And as the mayor said, there's also a plan for additional seats. And I know that the city and the DOE are looking at different sites all across the North Shore with our city council people in terms of where would be the best places to open additional seats in the years to come.
Thank you. All right, any other questions on education? Yes, sir.
In this initiative to improve schools, how are we engaging parents? And if there is anything to engage parents, how have we included the parent coordinator?
Well, the parent involvement is, to me, one of the underpinnings of big change in the school system. And it began with, in the teacher contract, for example, including every week time for teachers to engage with parents. It included going from 2 parent-teacher conferences a year to 4 parent-teacher conferences a year. It's a host of things to deepen the level of engagement. But then there's community schools. In 130 community schools, the level of parent engagement is much higher. Richard, why don't you jump in and talk about that a little?
Sure. Just very quickly, parent engagement, community engagement is a central part of community schools in a number of ways. One is that the central strategy is increasing the capacity of the school to engage community partners, institutions, including parents, in the plans for the school. But more specifically, the DOE has done a tremendous job of really building capacity directed towards going out and engaging students and families directly, including hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of home visits at the beginning of the year. And so engaging parents is actually central to the community school strategy of how do you build a better and more inclusive school community.
But let me be very specific on this. When I was deputy chancellor, one of the groups of people I met with on a regular basis were parent coordinators. Since I've become chancellor, I've given that responsibility to FACE and Yolanda Torres. She has met once a month with all the parent coordinators in the city. Now, some come, some don't come. And we have increased the opportunities for parent coordinators to also have career ladders. Today, one of the single shepherds that we met in a school was a former parent coordinator. So we expect to see career ladders for parent coordinators as well, but also we've asked them to get very much engaged. This past year in particular was to get more engaged in the cultural institutions. We gave them workshops on how to take parents to cultural institutions. We not have only increased more opportunity for parents, we do town hall meetings. I mean, I've been to Staten Island a lot for town hall meetings, but also the notion that this September, we are going to have curriculum night in every school in the city. There's a different one for elementary, different night for middle, and different night for high school. In the past, that wasn't part of equity. Some schools did it. Teachers came voluntarily or not. It was, kind of a chance. We have, since the new contract, this is part of every single school in the city. So that's also when we expect parent coordinators. The first person who greeted me this morning in this building was the parent coordinator. So to me, we expect them to be the public face. The other responsibility we've asked them to undertake is to be particularly welcome to parents of English language learners and special needs kids, because these are the 2 parents specifically who, when they come to the building, may need a little bit more support and a little bit more help. So I find parent coordinators a crucial part of the work that we're trying to do. I also find that their training, so they have a career ladder to move forward, is very, very important. And I think we're doing that. And Yolanda Torres is the point person in getting that done.
Okay. Last questions on education. Yes, sir.
In terms of that gun incident in Brooklyn, does that raise a red flag for you about the potential for danger?
Look, I'm a parent, so every parent is concerned about the safety of their child. I'm concerned about the safety of 1.1 million kids, but I have to tell you, I'm very confident in school safety, and I'm very confident in the direction we're going in. This has been such a clear trend, and I'm being very clear about saying this began in the previous administration. We've shown statistically that we've deepened it. But look, school safety is very professional. In fact, we've added a lot more training to help school safety do their job well. They're very diligent. We find that if any young person is planning on doing the wrong thing, we get them. So, and that drop in violent crime, 35% in 5 years, is unmistakable. So I am confident that our schools are safe and getting safer, and I'm very confident in our school safety officers. Last call, yes.
On the topic that Peter was just talking about, what would you tell a kid who's thinking of bringing a gun to school?
You're going to get caught. It's very simple. My message first of all, it's wrong in every way. And if someone is giving you a weapon, it's going to take you down the wrong road. If someone tells you to hold a weapon for them, it's going to take you down the wrong road. There's just no place for a weapon in a school. On top of that, you're going to get caught, and it's going to have very serious ramifications for your life. This is what I see over and over again. When young people, and it's a very small minority of young people, when they do the wrong thing, there are real consequences now. There's a lot more order in our schools and a lot more consequences. Last call. Okay, thanks everyone.